Elkanah was a Levite who lived in the territory of the Ephraim tribe. He was married to Anna and Peninnah, and the story of Elkanah became known in the Bible because he was the father of the prophet Samuel, one of the most important men in the history of Israel in the Old Testament. And in this video, you will understand everything the Bible says about who was Elkanah. Probably the Eucanian name means God has taken possession or God has created. It seems that this was a very common name in biblical times, for in the Old Testament there are at least 8 people mentioned with that name. Even the first Elkanah quoted in the Bible was a descendant of Korah. That Korah, which is mentioned in the Pentateuch in the book of Exodus in chapter 6. But undoubtedly, the Elkanah best known to all readers of the Bible is that this Elkanah is mentioned in the Bible in the first 2 chapters of Samuel's first book. According to the biblical text, Elkanah was from Ramathaim Zephim in the region mountainous territory of Ephraim. The Bible also explains that he was the son of Jeroboam, an Ephraimite. And on this, the biblical text says there was a man from Ramathaim Zephim, of the mountain of Ephraim, whose name was Elkanah, Jeroboam, son of Eliu, son of Duphi, Ephratah, son of Zuphi. But although Elkanah was a man of Ephraim, his origin line was Levi's tribe. This means that he was a Levite, more precisely a Kohathite of Ishiphi's family, as we understand in the light of the first book of Chronicles. And some people think there is a contradiction at this point in the biography of Elkanah. This is because Levi's tribe has not received a land inheritance in the distribution of land in Canaan. In fact, they were assigned to the Levite cities that were spread throughout the territories of the other tribes of Israel. So, Elkanah, it was an Ephraimite by a place of origin, but levitated by offspring. Therefore, and the Bible seems to describe Elkanah as a godly man and fear of God. Like Levite, he went to Simul, which was where the tabernacle was at that time, to worship the Lord. And the biblical writer records this commitment of Elkanah as follows. Therefore, this man from his city from year to year, to worship and sacrifice to the Lord of hosts in Silo. And there were the priests of the Lord, Ophni and Phinehas, the 2 sons of Eli. The only thing that puts the Cain in a difficult position was the fact that he had 2 wives, Anna and Peninnah. It is true that the Mosaic law did not prohibit polygamy, but certainly God's plan for marriage was always monogamy. All of the biblical characters who got involved in polygamous relationships had problems, and with Elkanah was not different. Anna and Peninnah lived in an environment of rivalry. If on the one hand, nothing negative is said in the biblical text about Anna, on the other hand, Peninnah is described as someone who pissed and mocking Anna because of her sterility. In biblical times, fertility was always seen as a blessing from God. Having a home full of children was often seen as a symbol of divine approval. Therefore, in Israelite society, a stereo woman was often discriminated and suffered a lot, and was not rarely identified as someone who was under a kind of divine curse, even if it were not the case. And the Bible records that every year, Elkanah took his family to Simple to worship. And the day Elkanah sacrificed, he distributed among the members of his family portions of the meal that was part of the worship. Peninnah and his children received the portions of the meal, but Elkanah gave an excellent part of Anna because he loved her, although God had done her stereo. But according to the biblical text in connection with this, Peninnah provoked Anna continuously, and she cried and did not eat. Elkanah was an attentive husband and worried about Anna's sadness. The biblical writer reports that Elkanah asked Anna, "Anna, why are you crying? Why don't you eat? Why is it sad? Am I not better to you than 10 children?" And it was in one of these visits to Silo that Anna, Elkanah's favorite wife, prayed to God asking for a son. In her prayer, Anna promised that she would return her son received for full service to the Lord. Then the Bible says that God answered Anna's prayer and he opened the mother. Thus Anna and Elkanah became parents of the prophet Samuel, one of the most notable men in biblical history. And when Samuel was weaned, Anna and Elkanah handed Samuel to the high priest Eli, so that he could be educated in service to the Lord. And then from year to year Anna visited Samuel when Elkanah went up to Silo to offer the sacrifice annual. The biblical text also says that the high priest Eli blessed the Elkanah and Anna, asking the Lord to give them offspring. And finally, the Bible ends the story of Elkanah stating that God visited Anna, and she gave birth to other children and daughters of Elkanah. About this, the biblical text says, "Then they came home, and the Lord was kind to Anna. She became pregnant and gave birth to 3 children and 2 daughters. Meanwhile, the boy Samuel grew in the presence of the Lord." And if you enjoyed knowing the story of Elkanah in the Bible,